What is the most annoying thing about the internet in 2019? I'll tell you what it is in a few minutes, and we'll also review the phrasal verb show up. And our quote of the week includes the phrasal verb, and that's a first for us. I'm Jeff, by the way, and my buddy JR is the producer. And guess what? We made it. This is the last episode of 2019. I was looking back at the most popular episodes of the whole year just to get a sense of what people liked the most. And do you want to know what one of them was? The episode was about New Year's resolutions, and it was the first episode of the year. It was called Why Many New Year's Resolutions Fail and How to Make Yours Stick. And it was episode number 117 at plainenglish.com/117. What are your New Year's resolutions this year? Eat better, save more money, get a better job. Those are some typical ones. How about improving at your English? What if 2020 could be the year in which you take that next step to learning how to express yourself confidently in English? If that sounds good, but you don't know exactly how to practice, then I would encourage you to check out our new membership program, Plain English Plus. With a membership to Plain English Plus, you'll build your vocabulary, gain confidence, and learn to express yourself better. JR and I have so many plans for Plain English Plus in 2020, and if you join today, you will be among the first to see all the new features we'll be rolling out in the first few months of the new year. If this is going to be the year for you, if this is going to be the year you leave the awkward moments behind, if this is going to be the year you decide you want to speak confidently like a professional, then this needs to be the year you join Plain English Plus. And you can make that happen by visiting plainenglish.com/plus, Plus. Quick, what's the most annoying thing on the internet these days? Time was you might have said pop-ups. Remember pop-ups? You'd land on a website and one or more new, smaller browser windows would pop up in your face. Most websites don't use them anymore. Advertising has become a lot more integrated into the fabric of sites. And besides, pop-up blockers have made those ads less effective. No, I'm talking about today, December 30th, 2019, the most annoying thing on the internet. I'll tell you what I think it is. Cookie policy announcements. They show up as a banner along the top or the bottom of the page. They can be short, like this one. This website uses cookies to ensure you get the best experience on our website. Or they can be long, making you read a long paragraph and check different boxes to offer varying levels of consent. One thing they all are: annoying, and new studies are finding broadly useless. Let's back up. Cookies are text files that keep track of information about yourself, such as your login information or your activity on a website. If you visit a site and your username is pre-populated, that's a cookie at work. Businesses use cookies to customize a user's experience on their sites, and those are called first-party cookies. A third-party cookie is a cookie from a different website, not the one you're on. For example, you might find that your internet search data follows you around the internet. If you're looking for a nice leather chair on one website, you might see ads for leather chairs in your Facebook feed, in your Amazon suggestions, and in ads on other sites. That's all because of third-party cookies. Businesses love them. Some consumers hate them, but most consumers are indifferent. I'm in the latter camp. I just like the internet to work for me. I've come to terms with the fact that personal data is out there somewhere, although I'd prefer that the data not be abused too badly. As data abuses go, cookies are not too bad. Mishandling or losing personal information like credit cards and government ID numbers or bank account numbers, it's all far worse than installing cookies on your browser, in my opinion. Well, the European Union implemented a policy called the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR. This applies to all online businesses with customers in the EU. That would be me. That would be most online information-based businesses. It applies to us all. It says a lot of things, but one thing this new regulation says is users should have the right to know how their personal data is being used, and they should have the opportunity to agree with it or opt out. That's why we have the cookie announcements. According to GDPR, companies that serve EU citizens must tell those people what personal information they're collecting and how that data will be used. A browser cookie is personal information. So if a website wants to collect data from web browsers in the EU, then GDPR says they must tell the users what's going on. Websites that want to comply with GDPR, in other words, put up a pop-up on their site with their cookie policy and ask you to agree to it. That sounds good. In theory, sites are disclosing what they're doing with information, and users have the chance to either agree or navigate away. But the user experience is terrible. Internet users, certainly myself included, we just blithely click accept because that banner is the one thing standing in the way of the information we want to get. The vast, vast majority of internet users don't read agreements like cookie policies or privacy policies, but we click accept several times a day. As annoying as these announcements are, it's not even clear that they're compliant with the regulation. The GDPR didn't explicitly say these announcements had to be made. Site owners are doing it more out of fear than anything else. They'd rather be safe than sorry because the regulation carries hefty penalties for violating the policy. There must be a better way. One idea is for an independent body to have ratings systems, kind of like LEED compliance for energy efficiency. Websites that have strong consumer-friendly policies could earn easy-to-understand badges. Sites without the badges might warrant more scrutiny from visitors. Unfortunately, there's no standards-setting body for internet privacy, so most sites will probably continue to bombard us with these useless notifications for the foreseeable future. We have not put a cookie announcement on our website, and that's for a few reasons. First, we're still pretty small, so we're not the target of EU regulators looking to bust a site for data privacy violations. Second, I have really hesitated to cheapen the user experience with a useless notice. I'm obviously an internet user myself, and I hate the banners, and I don't want to subject my site visitors to that, especially since the law isn't clear that they're even necessary. But I might. One thing is for sure, the world is not going to get fewer data privacy regulations in the future. We're going to get more. So I may as well get in the habit of complying with them regardless of how big or small my site becomes. I want to say hi to a few listeners today. First, Felipe in New Zealand. He has a very personal reason for learning English, and he sent me a heartfelt note describing his English journey. I won't share the details out loud, but Felipe, I want you to know that I'm proud to have you in the audience, and congratulations on all the improvement you've made in English so far. The first listener to ever send me a note from Somalia is Abdullahi. He lives in the capital of Somalia, which is Mogadishu, with his family of 5, and he is a humanitarian worker. Finally, Jader from Brazil is an engineer in Belo Horizonte and listens on Spotify in the car on the way to work. Today's expression is to show up. I almost missed it. I was looking for a good expression or phrasal verb, and I skipped right by show up when I was reading through the transcript. But it's a good one. It's a really, really good one, and I want you to practice using it right away. There are 2 ways to use it: when you're referring to a thing and when you're referring to a person. Here's how you heard it earlier. Cookie announcements have started showing up on websites all over the internet. The announcements have started showing up. That means the cookie announcements have started appearing all over the internet. If you're referring to a thing, then show up means to appear. You usually say this when you're starting to see something where you were not expecting it or where there was nothing before. Here are some examples. There's an error message showing up on my screen. I'm looking at my screen. Everything's normal. Now an error message appears when I wasn't expecting it. An error message showed up. It appeared. These brown spots started showing up on the leaves of my houseplants. I think it means they're not getting enough water. Or maybe it means they're getting too much water. I can never tell. Over the last few years, more and more little gray hairs have started showing up on the sides of my head, just out of nowhere, unexplained. Probably too much stress from trying to keep my plants alive. Okay, now let's talk about show up with people. When we're talking about people, show up means to go to a specific place and to present yourself there. We often say show up to when we want to specify the place. For example, I usually show up to work around 8 o'clock in the morning. Work is the place, and I specify that I show up to work around 8 o'clock. My colleague shows up late all the time. That's frustrating. You might have a friend like that, someone you know who always shows up late. It doesn't matter where, that person just shows up late to everything. I have no idea how many people are going to show up to my party. Maybe a lot of people will show up. Maybe a lot of people will attend. But maybe just a handful of people will show up. We don't know. Hundreds of people showed up to protest in the streets. What does that mean? There was a protest and hundreds of people were there. Hundreds of people showed up. Well, it is a plain English first. The quote of the week includes the expression. The quote is from the actor Woody Allen, and it's a famous one in English. You see versions of this quote all over the internet, but the first person to say it was Woody Allen. Here it is. Showing up is 80% of life. There are other variants. Often you hear that 80% of success is just showing up, but they all mean the same thing. You have to try. You have to show up. Just start. Do something. That's not a guarantee of success, but it is necessary. So many people don't show up. They don't try. They give up. Think about it. Let's say you want to be closer to friends and family in 2020. It can sometimes be daunting, intimidating, but if that's your goal, just dial the number. That's showing up in this sense. Pick up the phone and dial the number and press the green button. That's 80% of what you need to keep up a friendship with someone. The other 20% is whatever you say to that person when they pick up. But just showing up, just placing the call, that gets you 80% of the way there, according to this quote. This is a good one as we close the year. and transition into 2020. Thank you for showing up to Plain English every Monday and Thursday. You know, there are a lot of people in this world who say they want to be better at English, but they're not the ones listening to podcasts in English. You are. Just listening, just doing something is 80%. Now, you do have to do the other 20%. Don't get me wrong. But just showing up, do something. That's 80% of the effort. So congratulations on that. Congratulations on finishing 2019 strong with us at Plain English. And we'll see you right back here in 2020.